Hi everyone, welcome to WhatCulture.com. My name is Kenny McIntosh. I am the Roman Reigns of this channel and I hope you're happy to see me back. I've chucked the Adams in the water so they can't get to me today, and I'm here because last night the NXT brand was in Blackpool, England, and I was there for that. So today you're going to get the audio of me talking to William Regal, the general manager of NXT, and we talked to him a little bit about his career, being a real man's man. I mentioned it. And also about NXT and about Samoa Joe coming into the company and about sort of the up-and-comers in NXT. Obviously you're back here in the UK and you know it's a really exciting time to have you back here. What's it like to be here in Blackpool where you've had so many great moments in your career?
It's very weird. It's weird to come home without going home. And that's all I've been thinking all day. I haven't got time to, I'm rushing around and not got time to see anything or anybody. And a few people are coming here tonight, but I've got to see if I can fit in around seeing them. But it's not a place that I look in this town that doesn't have, massive amount of memories for me, because not only wrestling, but I used to do security, and if I wasn't wrestling in this building here or in so many clubs here and different things, and I used to go to so many shows in different places that I used to just sit and study like all these comedians and learn how they did the timing and stuff. So I always knew that had helped me doing this job eventually, and I don't know why, but I used to just sit and study them and watch. At the time in the 80s it was just shows on everywhere, and so there's nothing, everywhere I look there's just nothing but memories.
And I think, while we're here we need to just talk a little bit about the fact you did have neck surgery recently. How are things now?
It's stiff. I've had 4 discs taken out this time, and I've got a complete titanium neck now. I've got a new bionic neck, so once it heals up I'm completely good to go. But it's it's there. It doesn't hurt. It's just years ago this was the kind of surgery where they put like a halo on your head for a couple of months. Well, now they don't do that, but it's your muscles that do it for you. So they're just like, so I'm like this all the time, which is just to protect it while it heals, So I knew going in it was going to be a bit like this for a few months, but I'm glad it's done.
And had this been like a different time, maybe if your neck had totally healed up, or if you hadn't needed neck surgery, would you have been interested in wrestling on this tour? Was that something you would be looking to do at this stage?
Yes, I would have. Yeah, because that was one of the reasons I went in to have a picture of it, of the surgery I did last year, because it felt really good, and I felt good, and I was training and everything, but then. They took a picture and they went, unfortunately the back part had aggressively started calcifying forward, and if we don't do it now pretty quickly it's going to start touching your spine, so let's get it done now. So I had to wait 6 weeks to get not only the surgeon but the fella who does the titanium. It's like a separate, they wanted to do it this new way, whatever it is that, doesn't, you'd be back quicker than normal. So I had to wait a while, which the last one I was in 2 days. When they saw the picture of it, it was a bad thing, and it was like in. But I would have loved to, but if I never wrestle again, I honestly don't. I don't care. I don't want to be one of them fellas that can't do what I used to do and go out there. If I can't do what I used to be able to do and move as good as I can. I know I don't look like I used to look, but I can still move the way I used to move. I can move around and flip about, and so if it gets to that point, then I'm just not interested. I did 20, including injury time, a year off that time. It was a year off once when I got sick in India, a couple of suspensions and different things. I did 26 full-time solid years of wrestling, which very few people ever do. There's a lot that'll say they've been doing it that long, but they may have wrestled twice a month, or but I did like 160, 180 days, if not more, a year, 26 years. I've had more than my fair share of everything, so it really doesn't bother me to ever do it again. I get just as much In fact, probably more so. I get more out of watching when it goes right with this group, when they pick up on the little things and they learn the little psychology things instead of just doing moves, and they'll do something and you can see they get a reaction doing it one way, but then if you teach them something that you've learned, and they get a whole new different kind of reaction, and I'm watching the crowd and watching them and going, now they see it and feel it. Oh, before I used to just do this, well now I just do change it a little bit, but it gets such a better reaction. So I enjoy that part of it, because when you're in it, sometimes you get you got too much going on with thought process that you don't actually see that bit, which is I enjoy watching the crowd's reactions more.
And talk a little bit about your career. You had the gimmick in 1998 of being a real man's man, and it came across on TV like you really sort of gave that a go, even though maybe it wasn't the character you wanted to develop yourself. With you sort of teaching younger guys now in NXT, are you able to help them by sort of showing them an experience that you had and how that worked out for you?
My number one saying to everybody and anybody that works for me for any length of time is, whatever you're given, let's just make it work. And I've been it's funny you bring that man's man thing up. Wasn't a good part of my life. There was about 18 months where I was off the rails a bit, and that was part of it. Because of that was at the very tail end of me sorting my life out. I'd been on a bit of a strange ride for a few years, but I've never watched any of it, because that part of my life was a few years and that was all it was, and it's gone, so I've no need to even think about it. People will remember, they still remember all the stuff I've done and all the places I've been, and that gets brought up more than anything. And I only did that for 5 weeks, and I mean, it was what it was. If I'd have been of sound mind at the time and feeling good, I would have made that work. I would have changed it slowly over time and made it. I'd have got back to how I thought it should have been, But whatever you're given, you just make it work. And that's been a lot of my career in the WWE, well, anywhere. Okay, well, you can only do so much. I'm not a main event kind of guy, so there's only a few of those special ones. But you do so much. You can only be on TV doing so much for so long, and then I'd do little bits of stuff, and then I'd disappear, and then Mr. McMahon would go, "Got a great idea for you. I think you can make this work. Thank you very much. Right, here's this Japanese fellow. We'll do this thing with him." And every time he had an idea like that, it worked magic. Sometimes I'd just be on just there for because they could rely on me, and I was reliable. And so I never looked at this. Because when I started, there was no money in this. I never saw American wrestling until 2 years after I was already wrestling. People can't fathom that out, because you just couldn't get the tapes right. So there was I didn't think there was. I was told when I first started, you come in this with nothing, you're going to go out of it with nothing, and you're going to go out beat up and crippled up. But it's better than working in a factory, or if you really want to do this. So I didn't expect any of this other stuff. So it's all been a bonus to me, like this kind of stuff. So it never bothered me about being a big star or making money. It's been nice to have a great living out of it, but I looked at this as a career. I just want to be a star, because very few stars shine for too long a period and they burn out, or some move on and do great and some don't. I knew I was never that, especially after I'd gone through those few years in 97 and 98. I didn't want to push myself that extra, because you have to push yourself that extra mile to be that star. Believe me, you have to work 30 hours a day, 500 days a year. Well, I knew I'd had problems just handling life for a while, so I didn't really want to go, and it was nice to be like normal and be with my family and stuff and have time. So I didn't push myself that extra thing a lot. But I always work very hard at whatever they give me, so you get bits. Okay, well, the thing with Tajiri ran out time, can I do so much of it, and it worked very well. Well, now, okay, well, we can rely on you to go on and just do matches, but I was always all I cared about wasn't about being on TV. It was being on all the live events. 'Cause that's how I made money. Don't get paid much off TV because you're just promoting yourself. You get a bit, but I was always working constantly because they could rely on me to be there and be professional and do a lot of other stuff, or send me off to do this, and so I was always busy. Whereas a lot of people weren't. They were either on or they were off, and they'd be sat at home not earning, you know. And I just looked at it as a career. So at the end of the day, it wasn't about. It was just make work what I'm given. I know that only lasts so long, and then it's hopefully you get given that one other thing, and then I used to have that a lot, and you know, it'd go, well, we've got this fellow, we think he's got something, or put Regal with him. Eugene, perfect example. I'd just come off being sick for 14 months. Boss called me up, you ready to come back to it? Yeah, I've got an idea, we got this character, and we think you'd be he could play off you, because you can do all the comedy stuff. Yeah, great, thank you very much. And that worked a dream for that. Couldn't have been any better than some of that stuff if you actually go back and watch it now. But then they go, oh, we forgot he can do all that stuff, you know, about me. So then I get a bit more of a run, and then I get put with Lance in the tag team, and then all of a sudden you're tag team champions. And then I got, there's, well, actually that was before that. But there's just times when you have a run and then you're quiet. But as long as I was working, I didn't care. And that's a long answer for that, but make work whatever you're given. Too many people get stuck in it, and if you want to do something real, go to the Olympics. We're in the entertainment business, and you have to change with it, or reinvent yourself, or learn different ways or styles. Or so if you just keep doing the same thing, after a while, nobody cares, right? And that happens with everybody. Well, what am I? I'm just normal. So what have I got to do? Do a bit of comedy, do a bit of serious stuff if they need it. Whatever you got to do, just make it work. That's as simple as that.
And you know, a lot of people nowadays, they talk about the good old days when wrestlers could ride in the car with veterans and get advice and stuff like that. And guys like Jim Ross and Steve Austin talk about how that's not maybe there as much today. How do you feel about that? And how do you think that would be a good thing to change?
That's my main role here. Everybody here now, it used to be I would take whoever came along. Like say when Sheamus first came on the main roster, get in the car with, I'd never met him, get in the car with me. And he came with me for a couple of years. And then whoever, it doesn't matter, you know, as long as I got on with him okay, then come with me. And now that's what I do for everybody starting here. You know, we've got it to that point where that's what I do. They have got that person. There's not only me, there's a few, but that's my main role, really. I work in talent development. That's what I do. They've got me on call 24 hours a day. If anybody here, anybody that's at NXT, and outside of, you know, there's that many people outside of independent wrestlers that I know, and, you know, there's just no room for them here at the moment, or whatever else. I do the same for them. They just call me up and I'll help them out or whatever. So, because I was very lucky. I'm only sat here and you're only talking to me because I had the deep cream of the crop of British wrestlers take a liking to me. And I mean, that's true. And if without them doing that for me, I wouldn't be here. I started here, but then I got breaks after that by just being polite and when I was younger, and like Marty Jones and Johnny Saint and Fit Finlay and people and Dave Taylor taking me under the wing, and otherwise I would never have got to this. So I've always been helpful to, as long as I know that they want it and they're not just playing at this. I've no time for people who just come in this because it's better than somebody. They look like a wrestler and somebody tells them it's, you know, or they think it's better than getting a real job. To me, this is something you've got to, you're in it or you're not. Don't play at this because this is hard work to do properly. There's a lot of, you know, I hate the word fake in wrestling. There's a lot of fake wrestling. I've never done fake looking wrestling. To do this kind of stuff I do takes a lot of skill, and to teach people to do that takes a lot of skill. There's a lot of fake looking, but I don't like that kind of stuff. It's just not I'm not interested in watching that. So.
And when you're sort of looking at talent and stuff, what kind of things do you look for when you want to find a talent to bring into NXT?
Open to anything and everybody, but there's only so much room, and I get bombarded with people. You should have this fella. Yes, it'd be nice to have him, but you have to have so many people for development, because a lot of times it's just a fact, whether people want to admit this or not. The average person, not wrestling fans per se, but the average person off the street likes big, different looking people. They don't want to see somebody that looks like somebody that could live next door to them. That's just a fact of life. And a lot of people get that tied up in the wrestling fans. And I'm a wrestling fan, right? So I've never seen that. I've never looked at people. I don't care about how big anybody is. I just enjoy the performance, right? But if you're owning a company that wants to sell action figures to people, what would you rather have? Somebody that looked like a superhero or somebody who didn't? You'd rather have. So there's always going to be, if you go out looking, but now, at one time, it would just be, well, let's sign these athletes up. But that doesn't work. You've got to find athletes that want to do this and have or even if they've never seen it, become fans of this quickly and want to learn this. Is what we try and do. And that, you know that's going to take a couple of years. So you got to have so many spaces for them, and then you find the key. Like when this started, Triple H said, let's get the key fellas that we think we just need to start with to get this off the ground. Well, okay, I know I've got the ones in, and there's still several in mind that are out there, because I know by the time it's only an hour show, you can only have so many of these fellas on. Well, Sami Zayn, people are going him. And I'm going, I'm telling you, I said, so you get him, and then you get Adrian Neville, and there's a few people, and you get, just because that's all you can have, and then you've got to develop other people. So there's tons of talent. There's tons of talent in this country, but you can't have 500 English fellas on the show. And then we have to find, like, there's only so many spaces in development. Then we've got to find, so there's certain fellas like Finn. He's going to come in, he's not going to be there that long, because he's basically ready. He just needs to learn a few different things that we do here, and camera things and stuff. Okay, come in, and then he's straight on the show. Same with Sammy and Adrian Neville. It's basically in, and so they're not going to take up room, because there's only so much room for everybody. But then you develop people, but then you got other countries to think about. We covered for English people. We've got Neville, and we've got Wade Barrett, and then we've got a couple already in development, and that one lad Stewart, the soccer player. You couldn't get anything look better than him, or got the talent that he's got. And he used to, no matter who he played for, the world's most popular sport. He's already getting, we bring him over to do shows, and he's not even been on TV yet, so let's invest in him. And sometimes I have to separate myself from the wrestler part, because I want every wrestler to have a chance. But you get it right. They go, well, this is just money all over, because we can send him anywhere in the world, and he's got a connection with a huge audience because he was a professional soccer player. When you start looking at it like that, you go, oh yeah, I get why they're. So you can only have so many English guys. Well, then we got big TV ideas for South America. Go out and find us a couple of Brazilian fellas. There's no pro wrestling there. So then we got to go down there and look for jiu-jitsu guys, or guys that can have a concept and put them, see what they're like. And we've got a couple coming. Then okay, go and find us a couple of Indian guys. So we go to India and we find two of the best athletes over there that are like worshipped in their sports over there. We're getting them ready so they can go on this India tour. That's what we have to do. A lot of people don't get all that. There's only so much room, and that's it. Another thing, we've only got an hour show, and you can only put so much on. So what's the point? I keep an eye on all the independent fellas that I like and want or would like to have here, and I'm in touch with most of them. So you're better off out there, fellas, because what you're going to do. I know that they can't possibly put every one of you on the show, but you can be out there, and every day that you're out there, whether you know it or not, it might be a struggle, but you're getting better. Because when you're out there in the real world, you have real life's ups and downs, and it shows. Daniel Bryan came in at 18. I met him when he was 18. It took sort of like helped train him a bit, right? But he wasn't ready then. But so I sent him here for 4 years. He came to England, and then he went to Japan, and he went. And by the time he came in, he just. You can think what you want and get caught up in the myth. You go and find me a time from the time he came in till the time when he finished, like when he got injured, when he wasn't some kind of champion or involved in some kind of storyline. That's what this is about. It's not people go, oh, he's not made. Okay, go and find me a time when he wasn't either some kind of a champion or involved in the thing with Kane or doing something special on TV. And eventually that's when you start getting a real following. And then you get that break where it takes on fire. Well, because he was ready for it. Same with Finn, same with Sammy. Because they've been out in the world, in the real world, and they've had every... I always say this, you only get good at this when you fall on your backside 1,000 times. Well, the one thing about NXT, you probably only fall on your backside 100, because we're always there to... We don't want you to have to spend too much time. But if you're out there, by literally Kevin Owens, you can call him, okay, we'll get you here. You're on TV within 2 weeks of being here, and he's such a force. Bang, he is where he is, right? Other fellas stay around here because we need him on this show, and you know there's only so much room there. But all the ones that are good, they stay out there. I stay in touch with them, and then hopefully one day there'll be a space for him here. But it's no good coming here just to sit around doing nothing. What's the point? I mean, people don't think about this. Just say, well, think about it for a second. Where are we going to put them all? What are we going to do with them? They're going to be sat around bored doing nothing, or training in a gym for no reason. You know, when they can be out in the real world getting real work. Because you only get good at this by doing it out there. I can teach you everything I know in a gym. Doesn't mean you're going to be a good wrestler, a good pro wrestler. You only learn that when you go out there and you find whether people are cheering or booing you or reacting to what you're doing. Otherwise, it's just moves and stuff, right? So the more they're out there, the more they're working hard. Like some of the guys have gone to NXT and they've left on their own accord. Well, we've learned everything, but we know that it's no hard feelings. You can come back when you want, but we're going to go out there and take what we've learned here and see if we can make more of it, or we just want to change a scenery or whatever. Okay, well the door's open to come back. Too, I think recent memory have done that. No problem. Go out and do it, because we just don't have room for you on the show. That's it. There's just only an hour show. What are you going to do? Have 25 matches? Then you'd be complaining, right? If every match was a minute and a half long, you'd be long matches, and we have invested time in the ladies and stuff. So there's only so much we can do.
And obviously it's a big year for NXT, guys like Samoa Joe coming in. Talk a little bit about, veterans coming in and sort of mixing up the landscape of NXT and kind of shaking things up a little bit.
And that's another thing, is bringing in people that have been out there and who are very good. Keeps everybody on their toes here. Sometimes, you can get a bit complacent, right? But if you see fellas coming in who aren't on contract here and they can go, like Tommaso the other week, I had an outstanding night with, Anybody sat in the back who's decided, I'm getting sick of this, I better pick my game up tomorrow. But does Tommaso good, because his value's gone up, because he's on our show and that seems to be the hot thing at the moment. He's happy. He's getting booked more and making more. We can use him whenever we want, and it does everybody, all them fellas. There's just no room for him at the moment, and you talk to a lot of them, say, look, do you want to do a little bit of this? Yes, please, we'd love to. So, but it also gives the fellas here something different to do. Otherwise, you end up. I was very lucky. I wrestled, literally 1,000 people. Most of the people, if you look back in the last 10 years, most of the people who've come in probably never wrestled more than 20 people, because they get on a certain roster and that's all there is. They can only wrestle so many people. But if we've got that luxury with NXT to bring in these fellas and just have them in for a night or 2 nights, and anybody who's not on contract to anybody else. That's another thing, is the fellas with, okay, well, Tommaso and Johnny Gargano and really good, right? So let's bring him in. they had great showings, great matches. It was different for a week, so same faces, but then, and at the same time we're getting these other people that we haven't debuted yet more ready, and it's a whole process. It's well thought out, believe me. But there's only, it's just, that's why. But also because we'd like to have those fellas on the roster, but we just don't have the room for them. Because there's only so much money for whatever, you know.
And obviously, you know, you guys are now touring NXT as its own brand rather than with WWE as two separate brands. What does it mean to sort of have this touring separately from WWE? So it's its own thing. It's you know, it's basically NXT is being sold on being NXT. You know, it's not like WWE featuring NXT. It's a full NXT tour.
I don't know what to say about it all, honestly. It's just insane that we can do this kind of the amount of people. It really is. I mean, it just, every night I get choked up when I start talking about it. I'm going, how is this happening? I don't know. But something is, you know, we're obviously doing the right thing, that people are enjoying what we're doing. Well, not me, what they're doing. That's really it. But it's all down to the people who are watching. It's all down to fans that watch. That's what's making this. They've decided that they like what we're doing, and so to go out there and see, you know, this place sold out in a day or something, and then like Wembley sell out Wembley Arena with this is just insanity. I just stand there sometimes. I keep looking and going, is this something because I can't figure it out. I'm like, what am I missing here? Because I'm pretty smart at this, but I can't figure out how it's gone from, in 3 years, like 50 people at some shows in Florida, those FCW shows, to this in 3 years. I can't figure it out.
And I got a chance to be in Brooklyn for the NXT show with Bayley against Sasha, and it must just be amazing for you to see how far this has grown from, you know, like you say, being in a really small environment to now, you know, being in Brooklyn in front of 13,000 people, night before SummerSlam. What was that like for you backstage?
I don't know. It's hard for me to explain. I'm just like, I'm not like a proper fan then, you know. I'm just, this is amazing. I'm just watching it and I'm going, wow. And then I realise I'm part of it and all that kind of thing. It's a weird kind of experience for me to see any of this, because we do what we do, but then it just seems to, everything flows well, and then it's down to them though, you know. I mean, at the end of the day, it's down to the talent, that they're good enough to pull it all off. Doesn't matter how good we are at showing them stuff. They're the ones who pull it off, not us. I'm not stood there doing it for them. They do it themselves. So it's their talent. That's, you know, it's the thing that, you know, Triple H has said it. You know, probably the thing you'll be remembered the most for is this eventually. At the end of the day, don't know what I've done before this. At the end of the day, it's just the association with this now will be the thing in 20 years' time that people remember you for, because this is, it'll be like, wow, this went from this to this and all this, you know, and you were lucky enough to be a part of it. Most of this stuff has just been done on social media, right? And network, yeah, network and social. That's it. Like we do, so that show in the first big one we did in San Jose. Every ticket sold on that. There was not one bit of advertising put into it, apart from what we did on our website and social media. And it's just because people watch the net. And if you look at the figures, how many people watch the network over here, it doesn't make sense that it's. If you look at the actual numbers of people who watch compared with, you know, like populations of people and how many have actually come in, and it doesn't add up. It just does not add up. Because if you can say, well, in a city there's, you know, a couple of million people and you can put 10,000 in an arena, if there's 200 and something thousand got the network here, it's astronomical figures that you can sell 12,000 tickets out of 200,000. It just doesn't work like that. You're looking at, that's a city, that's like a city with 3 or 4 million people in that you may be able to do 10,000 in an arena with. Doesn't add up at all. So how it's this popular, I don't know if a lot of the people even watch it. It's just become the in thing to, I don't know, you know. It's weird. I can't see how they possibly can. And everybody goes, well, it's for a certain, you know, for the hardcore group of wrestling fans. I don't buy into that either. I certainly don't, because if it did, then the independent companies that run the same areas as we do would have the same amount of people in. There's something more, you know, there's that group of people that come that like it, but also it's bringing in, you know, people, whether they're just old fans that like the style we're doing, or whether it's people hear about the buzz of it, and it's bringing these, because, you know, I know the size of places we're doing, thousands and 1,500s and whatever else in America. Well, I know the other companies that run us, you know, that of that help, they don't do that many people in those buildings. So there's more than just a hardcore group of fans coming. There's more than that. So.
And I've been watching wrestling a long time, and I've saw a lot of your career. And one of the things that I think a lot of people remember you for mostly are your facial expressions. And I just wonder, how do you sort of convey that kind of stuff to the younger talent and help them develop a sense of being able to use their face to tell a story and things like that?
It's a case-by-case basis. There's no set formula to it, you know. There's some people just naturally good at it. Some people get it. Why? You know, I get it because I tell people, never forget, if you're a fan from being very young, I guarantee you didn't like all these great technical wrestlers and stuff, because I didn't. I liked Big Daddy when I was 7. I didn't like to admit that when I was 10, because that's when I first saw Rollerball Rocco and Marty Jones wrestle, and that changed my world, because I went, what are they doing? Because they were doing something that was so advanced for their time in 1978, and I remember watching it when I was 10, going, then I started liking them. But when I was a child, I remember my favourite was Cyanide Sid Cooper, who was like my hero. I used to watch him and he'd pull faces and that. I used to scream, and I've always said, never forget what you liked as a child and keep a bit of that in your act, right? And with me, it was a lot of face pulling to make I could go out and I'd go, okay, well, there's a big group of hardcore wrestling fans there. I'm going to do some serious striking and suplexes. There's loads of kids in. They don't care about that stuff. They want to boo or love someone. So I'll pull pantomime villain faces at them and have them booing me. Then the mums are going to be happy because they're happy. Or, well, they see that they're enjoying getting their money's worth. But I'm going to do these strikes and suplexes that even if the dads have just brought them and they don't like wrestling, they're going to go, ooh, that hurts. So they don't go, you know, they can go away saying, well, that looks phony, but they can't say my stuff. So that, everybody's different with the characters and stuff, and you know, but Fit Finlay has a great saying, most people don't have good selling or facials because they've never had a good kicking. And I don't have to be, you know, I've been dragged about and had my head stuck up my backside for a lot when I was first doing this. Proper dragged about, so those faces a lot of the times have just come natural from knowing what it feels like to be put in holds. So you know, so I have no problem if anybody here wants to, you know, why do you do that? Well, because of that. Oh, okay, you don't have to show me that again, right? Because that's how I learn. So. But you find some people are really good at it, some people are good at comedy, some people aren't, some people think they are and they aren't. Some people are just serious, so you've got to develop that side of them. It's no good trying to make them something they're not going to be. You can it's easy, like I say, make it work, but if it's not going to work, why force it on them? Because who's going to benefit from that? So everybody's different. I was always, see, I'm lucky. All I ever wanted to be was like a clown or a wrestler, right? So I was always open to entertaining, and I love doing it. I'm very comfortable with myself, no problem falling on my backside and making a clown, because I like doing comedy. Some people like to be serious. I think if you take yourself too seriously and you want to be in this job, you're in the wrong business. Because every night's different. One night people might want serious stuff. The next night you go out, they don't want that. They just want more entertaining stuff. So you have to be able to change with the times. You know, look at people like Kurt Angle and Steve Austin, pretty serious fellas, but they're that comfortable with themselves. They'd make they'd clown about and do, because they knew they could get it back, because they're not trying to pretend to be, tough guys or whatever. So some people are like that. And okay, well, but if you're stuck in one way of doing things and you're not open to changing, or pulling faces or doing whatever you got to do, usually you only get a short run. To be around for a long time, you got to adapt. So you just find the people who can do it. Some people are just stone-faced. Okay, well, we'll try and work around that, because it doesn't matter what you do, that
And William, I want to thank you so much for joining us. It's been a real pleasure, and I hope the show goes well tonight.